Have you ever seen someone fight much bigger opponents and still make fun of them? This Muay Thai legend is dubbed as the Giant Slayer. Even Joe Rogan thinks he's a wizard.
How did Saenchai figure out how to do Muay Thai different than anybody?
Oh my It's goodness. Incredible.
He's a bad mother... He's been around so long and he's still f***ing people up. God, and the style's so different than everybody else's. He's light on his feet and he throws kicks with no telegraph.
Oh, question mark kick. And he's wobbling.
But, you know, Saenchai is just light on his feet, everything's shuffling and moving quick. He's very different, like there's no one like him.
You see, Saenchai is so good that he doesn't need to truly punish his opponents. That is, he already knows he can knock them out if he wants to. Instead, this legend toys with his opponents while taking them to school at the same time. Throughout every fight, Saenchai remains playful, and if they're respectful, he remains merciful. In this episode of Lawrence Kenshin Striking Breakdowns, we showcase the charisma of Saenchai through his legendary knockout antics. In this Saenchai Muay Thai blueprint, you will see the following being highlighted. The Saenchai shuffle,
Nearly as much as he used to.
the Saenchai boom boom, Saenchai taunting his opponents, Saenchai scare tactics, Saenchai's legendary sweeps, Saenchai's downward elbow, and Saenchai's kissing. If Saenchai's in a good mood, he is almost always having fun in the ring. However, if he's angry, then he will hunt the knockout. Fight fans, welcome to Saenchai's knockout antics. This is how the greatest of all time, the one and only Saenchai, does it in each of his legendary fights. Saenchai versus Charles Francois.
ชกอย่างละเอียดครับแสนชัยโอ้โหนี่ครับล็อกมาครับหัวใหญ่ล้มดังครับนี่ครับโอ้ยมาในกระโหลกทีมสายลำตัวเราขึ้นบนครับสายตรงครับโอ้ยหมัดซ้ายครับโอ้นี่ล้มช้างครับนับที่2ครับ
Charles Francois is a three-time world champion and holds multiple belts in other organizations. Before the fight began, Charles has to bend right down to hug Saenchai, showing the height and weight difference, and Saenchai doesn't hug back. To start the fight, Saenchai shuffles until Charles throws a roundhouse. What followed was a barrage of antics from Saenchai. Immediately after Charles interrupted his shuffle, Saenchai catches and sweeps Francois, and then immediately taunts him. Saenchai then brings out a shuffle again, into a powerful teep, into a flying kick that sends Francois flying back, as if to say, try and kick me again. Keeping the momentum, Saenchai lands another sweep into a cheeky dance. Charles liked this cheeky dance, so he vibed with it too. Charles tries to pressure by stalking, and Saenchai hops on the giant and fakes a downward elbow into a huge smile. The GOAT was clowning this whole fight while being so dominant. Can any other fighter do that? Saenchai then absolutely destroys the giant with his elusive footwork. By feinting a roundhouse, Saenchai circles around the back of Francois to land a kick on the back of his opponent. Initially, Charles complained about the kick, but Saenchai gestured, "What are you complaining about? It's legal." This was one of the most impressive moments of Saenchai's career. And again we see Saenchai's great dancing and Francois giving Saenchai props. Now on an absolute roll, or should we say troll, Saenchai eggs Francois on with slapping his own head. Immediately Saenchai transitions into a thudding low kick, putting Francois on the back foot. He then throws another thudding roundhouse and taunts with some cute boxer-sized punches. Then Saenchai decided that he had enough fun and put an end to the fight by dropping the French champion twice, followed by a knockout. Saenchai versus Henrique Muller.
question mark kick connects and he's wobbling.
Henrique Muller is a giant with a notable win over Pampayak, one of the GOATs of this era. Muller comes out super aggressive. Maybe he was nervous, but this isn't so wise against the GOAT. While he initially showed a bit of success, this aggression activated Saenchai's knockout energy. Being super aggressive prompts Saenchai to chase Muller around the ring with his own combinations. After another solid combination pushing Muller to the ropes, Saenchai leans, smiles, and taunts. Muller replies with his own smile, which is met by Saenchai's left hand. Muller is still smiling, but gets hit with another left hand again. This wiped the smile off of Muller's face. The second round starts with more of Saenchai's cheekiness. Muller is aggressive once again. Then we see one of Saenchai's signature antics, jumping onto the giant and threatening the downward elbow. He then laughs and gives Muller a kiss. Even when Saenchai is being super aggressive and destroying Muller, he can still show he is having fun and entertain the crowd with a wink. The fight ends with perhaps one of Saenchai's most notable knockouts, the question mark kick against the giant. To the very end, Muller smiled on his way down. Legend says that he is still smiling to this day.
Oh, question mark kick connects and he's wobbling. Oh, and he's down. What a knockdown that was.
Saenchai vs Matt Embree.
ครับวันนี้ด้านหลังนะครับวางแขนซ้ายบนครับกับปั้นซ้ายครับแสนชัยครับพยายามเรียกออกหมดยกที่1ครับเดี๋ยวพักกันก๊อปปี้ครับผมอยากคืนบ้างนะครับอยากคืนบ้าง
Matt Embree is an elite Canadian fighter, one of the best talents in Canadian history. Embree comes out super game and aggressive, but instead of meeting fire with fire, Saenchai starts playing and fakes a downward elbow to entertain the crowd. The same thing basically happens again, but instead of feinting the elbow this time, Saenchai lets it fly and lands a huge elbow. The GOAT then proceeds to smile to the crowd. Saenchai then leans back on Embree's punches, provoking him with forward leans and chin taps. After having some fun, Saenchai says, "My turn," and pressures forward. Upon landing in the clinch, Saenchai hits a sweep and gets cheeky by laying on top of Embree and then waves to the crowd. With Embree on the back foot and Saenchai's momentum rising, he is still able to evade counters and still calling his opponent forward. After dominating with antics and sweeps, Saenchai finishes the round with a referee intervening and holding Saenchai back. Later on, Saenchai threatens the downward elbow for the third time. This time, even the referee laughed. Moments later, with Saenchai laughing, Embree lands a body cross, only for Saenchai to pat his stomach and smile. How demoralizing is this? To repay the body shot, Saenchai sends his opponent's leg into the air with a sweep. Embree covers his head thinking Saenchai might throw an illegal blow, but the GOAT delivers a kiss instead. Matt gets up smiling and acknowledges the cheeky kiss with a nod. The crowd's favourite antic was how when Embree missed a punch and a kick, and Saenchai goes into boom boom mode. The crowd went crazy for this one. Narrowly missing another hook, Saenchai taunts with a forward lean, looking smug. Thinking he's now an easy target, Embree attempts a low kick, only to be met with a slick evasion, followed by the boom boom technique, with the crowd going wild. To end the entertaining fight, Saenchai throws Embree through the ropes. Saenchai vs Seth Grande.
กันนะหัวเข่าซ้ายวัดใจหมาแหละครับวัดใจใครไม่วัดจับเหลี่ยมฝีมือนี่ครับสาล้วนๆนะครับโอ้ยศอกซ้ายครับขวาโอ้ยศอกซ้ายศอกซ้ายโอ้ยแม่ตอนนั้นเป็นชัยยอดมวยของเราอันนั้นมาดิครับหน้าไปตัดหน้าแสนชัยเลยเอาตามศอกซ้าย
In this fight, Saenchai shows why he is the king of sweeps. He opened this fight with 2 sweeps back to back. On the second sweep, he even has the cheekiness to raise his hands as if to say, "Oops, my bad." Throughout the fight, he continues dominating with sweeps. To set up his 5th sweep in the first round, Saenchai lands a perfect overhand elbow into a trip and walks off like a boss.
หลักเหลี่ยมนี่สุดยอดจริงๆไว้40 ปีครับแล้วก็ยอดเยี่ยมครับไม่มีซ้ำเติมครับรุ่นนี้ไม่มีซ้ำไม่มีเติม
At the start of the second round, Saenchai starts with his 6th sweep of the
ครับ
fight,
สำนึกรักบ้านเกิดสำนึกรักสถาบันครับต่อครับ
and then lands his 7th. Saenchai attempted his 8th sweep, but fails. But Saenchai decided to bob his opponent on the head to continue trolling him. Saenchai then trolls him some more, waves his arms, and then leans forward quickly. Now walking down his prey, Saenchai lands another beautifully timed overhand elbow. Knowing this hurt his opponent, he backs off smiling. With confidence oozing, Saenchai attempts sweep number 8, this time disguising the sweep with a left hand into lead trip. Being successful with this, Saenchai smiles. After a big flurry by the opponent, Saenchai dodges it all, clinches up, and gives his opponent a kiss on the cheek. Sweep number 9 is set up by feinting a low kick, drawing a check, and then firing a low kick to the base leg. Later on, Saenchai turns on his aggressive mode, landing a face teep and 2 big overhand elbows. Seth shakes his head, so Saenchai decides to land another 4 overhand elbows. Why anyone would encourage Saenchai to hit them, no one knows. Saenchai attempts another overhand elbow, but this time it is dodged, and he transitions into the 10th sweep of the fight. Just as quick as Saenchai turns from ultra offensive mode, he engages his playful mode again. The final antic from this fight was pulling back from a low kick into his signature boom boom. Saenchai versus Shan Clancy.
ไหนนะครับเอามาสู้กับแสนชัยซ้ายครับมันกี่ปีแล้วครับรู้ไหวไปหมดครับดูครับดูต่อยล่างสนามบอลครับรัวเป็นชุดครับแสนชัยครับต่อซ้ายต่อซ้ายต่อซ้ายครับต่อขวาก็ย้ำใหญ่สารพัดนะครับตอนนี้
Saenchai starts this fight aggressive with a jumping low kick. Then he feints into a question mark head kick, and then slaps his legs to egg Clancy on. Just from the first few exchanges, you can see Saenchai is taking this fight seriously. Saenchai floors Clancy with a teep, re-engages with a solid cross, into shadowboxing taunts, and then a cross knee chain to send Clancy flying back. He never stopped his antics. Mocking Clancy with shadowboxing mixed with real punches. To prove these fighters Saenchai mock against are legit, they are sometimes able to land against Saenchai's antics. But this prompts Saenchai to push forward, landing some powerful shots. Landing in the clinch, Saenchai then looks over to the crowd with a smug look. In another display of dominance, Saenchai will even show mercy. He grabs Clancy's leg and waits to let Clancy retrieve his leg back. Moments later, Saenchai mocks his opponent's missed kick and Clancy dances. For some reason, this left Saenchai looking disgusted. And this is when Saenchai gets angry. And we all know what happens when Saenchai gets angry. The taunts from here seem to stop as Saenchai went all out. But Clancy was a resilient stud, and eventually Saenchai backed off with a smile after swarming his opponent. The two fighters even shared a beautiful moment in this fight. That is, they locked eyes and kissed on the lips. But things were getting too romantic, so Saenchai had to turn on his fight energy again with some taunts. So he pulls out the ultimate move, the evading boom boom technique, into the cartwheel kick. The final antic in this fight was playfully chasing Clancy on the ropes into a trip and hug. Saenchai versus Johnathan Tuhu.
ขยับเข้าหากับแสนชัย
ปาปัวนิวกินีเนี่ยไม่สดนะฮะกินต้มก่อนของเรานี่กินกันมาถีบจังหวะนี้ล้มครับ
สายตาต้องเร็วด้วยนะครับสายตาต้องเร็วด้วยนะครับ
มาชมกันต่อครับโอ้โหจิ้มไทยแล้วครับ
Although looking older, Johnathan Tuhu was only 23. Saenchai started the fight with a shuffle and then lands a walk-away sweep. When Tuhu attempted a low kick, Saenchai slid his leg back and slapped his own leg to egg Tuhu on. Maybe Tuhu's dance moves at the end of the round frustrated Saenchai when he tried to give him props, so he came out hard. The GOAT dropped Tuhu with a beautiful pullback cross. Then he floors Tuhu with a teep. The final antic of this fight was mocking Tuhu's spinning kicks. In response to the spinning kicks, Saenchai then continues to knock him out. Saenchai vs Stephen Meleady. Saenchai starts the fight with a shuffle and a shorts pull. After 2 successful leanbacks, Saenchai leans back again on Meleady's third head kick. Saenchai then starts leaning and taunting with a cheeky smile. He immediately feints to take Meleady's back and feints a slap. Into a clinch trip, looking dominant as f***. From here, Saenchai is completely in control, to the point of landing a cartwheel kick and then raises his arms. Being able to take the opponent's back again in a smooth angle change, instead of feinting the slap, he slaps Meleady while he's retreating, then ends up in the clinch and feints an elbow into a kiss. And the crowd love it. After putting Meleady down a couple of times, Saenchai puts him down for a third time. The GOAT then stands over Meleady and waves to the crowd. Immediately after, they exchange with Meleady asking for more, and Saenchai drops his opponent with a perfect lean back hook. Later on, Saenchai's teep floors Meleady and Saenchai smirks. The final antic was Saenchai landing a question mark head kick into a chain cross, landing flush. He then shouts, "Ooh-wee." Saenchai vs Yetkin Ozkul. Saenchai starts the fight by saying something. This prompts a head kick from the opponent, but the head kick is immediately countered by Saenchai's lean back followed by another taunt. Saenchai then proceeds to shuffle, making the opponent drop his guard. And for some reason, Saenchai looks angry. After Yetkin attempts a spin kick, Saenchai does his signature moves, and then smiles. With Saenchai finding his groove, he starts to smile at his opponent's feints. He then climbs up to his opponent and lands some downward elbows. To finish the fight, he lands a knockout blow and dances for the crowd. Saenchai vs Victor Conesa.
กีฬาแฟนหมัดมวยครับรู้จักเป็นอย่างดีครับสำหรับแสนชัยพบรุ่งโรจน์บริษัทโตโยต้าเคมอเตอร์จำกัดผู้จำหน่ายโตโยต้าแล้วยกคู่ต่อสู้ผลักลอยลงไปครับโอ้ดูครับขยับหลอกปวดเสียนเวียนแก้วเลยครับทางด้านของ
Saenchai once again starts the fight with a shuffle. Not even a minute in, and Saenchai goes for a cartwheel kick. Although it lands, Saenchai falls. As he gets up, the giant goes to give him props. The referee wants in, so they share a three-way high five. The giant evades a counter roundhouse with a smooth as squat. Saenchai rolls up his shorts. It is time for Saenchai to smash. To completely own his opponent, with the giant's back in the corner, Saenchai closes range, parries the giant's hand, and takes the opponent's back. Even though Saenchai was pressed against the corner, he proceeded to charge the giant while slapping his back, and then lands a jumping head kick which floors the opponent. Saenchai misreads a high kick and leans back, but like a true Yoda master, still manages to pull his leg back from a low kick. He then raises his arms like, what else you got? In a cool moment, Saenchai trips the opponent, putting the giant on the back foot. As he stumbles back to regain balance, Saenchai feints a slap and then feints a roundhouse to throw himself into the ropes. Then, the GOAT has a laugh about it. In the next sequence, Saenchai spams punches into the air like a boxer-sized class, ending up in the clinch, where he then feints a downward elbow into a kiss. To finish the fight, he throws a punch off cartwheel kick feints and adds a cheeky dance.
กีฬาจากมหาสารคามครับโอ้ดูครับขยับหลอกปวดเสียนเวียนแก้วเลยครับทางด้านของวิกเตอร์โอ้โห
Saenchai vs Anvar.
Boynazarov โอ้โหแข้งมาหลากหลายนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นมวยโอ้โหเตะก้านคอเหลือไม่ได้แต่ว่าความเป็นมวยของเขานี่ต่อให้ครับโดยเฉพาะการเรียนมวยต้องเรียนเอาไว้ Boynazarov แสนชัย
Saenchai comes out serious, landing some heavy shots, including a solid question mark kick. Then Anvar lands a solid right hook, to which Saenchai taunts. The GOAT leans forward, only to explode into a huge roundhouse. An evasion into a head push kick, and then a cheeky smile. After landing a huge head kick, Anvar replies with his own head kick, but Saenchai knew what was coming, and leans back right away and taunts Anvar with a couple of leans and shakes his hands out while smiling. When they clinch up, Saenchai throws Anvar into the air. As Anvar is getting up, Saenchai maintains eye contact to warn him that there is more coming. To end the round, Saenchai climbs on the opponent and delivers a kiss. When they clinched up again, Saenchai would sliver out. Then to taunt Anvar, Saenchai leans forward to fake the opportunity to land some shots. Saenchai tries one of his signature taunts, the level changing jab of going to the body and head. Anvar interrupts his first taunt, but is then again met by another one of Saenchai's leaning taunts. Saenchai then lands a bunch of roundhouses and trips Anvar in the clinch. On the way down, Saenchai lands a smooth knee and then sticks his tongue out. After dodging and blocking Anvar's shots, he pins Anvar against the ropes, looks to the crowd, and sticks his tongue out with a cheeky smile. With Saenchai bouncing, this builds momentum for his powerful kicks. First, his question mark kick lands, followed by a low kick. With a threat of a kick, Anvar is cautious. Saenchai knows this, so he decides to jump, followed by a laugh and a feint. This makes Anvar attempt Saenchai's famous scissor kick, but the originator leans back. He gives Anvar a thumbs up and claps. Shortly after, Saenchai shows Anvar how to land a scissor kick. In this moment, Saenchai shows his insane balance. Anvar was able to catch a roundhouse, but is unable to do anything with it. Saenchai hops on one leg doing a complete 180 around Anvar, and even delivered a hook. Saenchai then pulls his leg away, even evading another low kick from Anvar, and then bows and leans forward again. When Saenchai shuffles into a strike, he will literally send the opponent flying backwards. Then Saenchai even leans back, evading the kick and shakes his head. Even in close range, Saenchai can evade and taunt at the same time, leaning forward to taunt and then back to evade punches and kicks. The final antic of this fight comes after Anvar trips Saenchai. As Anvar tries to look dominant, Saenchai sticks his tongue out and smiles. He then wiggles his leg out in front and then slams a heavy low kick into a head kick. As Anvar throws the whole kitchen sink, Saenchai evaded everything and threw boxer-sized punches into the air to scare his opponent. Saenchai vs Shan Cangelosi. Saenchai starts the fight with a shuffle and smirking. The opponent catches Saenchai's leg, attempts a sweep and a spinning back kick. Saenchai avoids the sweep, leans back on the spinning kick, and then raises his arms. When Saenchai catches Shan's kick, he then shows how to catch and sweep, and then raises his arms for the crowd. The opponent attempts another spinning back kick, with Saenchai easily evading and then decides to chase the opponent by feinting a slap. In a messy exchange, Saenchai ties up the opponent and nullifies the aggression with a kiss. Putting the opponent on the back foot, Saenchai then fires punches into the air. And when Saenchai really wants his kiss, he will blast his opponent into the ropes and just throw himself into you for a kiss. Saenchai is also immune to spin attacks. The GOAT takes a spin kick to the gut and continues to smirk and slap himself. Saenchai sweeps his opponent, managing to gain balance as he's about to hit the floor. The GOAT raises his hands to let the opponent fall when he clearly could have smashed the opponent. While Saenchai showed mercy, it left him open. The opponent rushed from the floor and threw a spin elbow. And again, Saenchai took it like a champ, so he decides to score the opponent right away with a dope sweep and a walk-off. Moments later, he lands his third kiss. And then another sweep due to being annoyed by the spinning elbow. The opponent tries another spinning kick, but Saenchai hops back and sweeps the opponent with a smile again. More spinning kicks are attempted, but Saenchai feints another slap and instead hits the opponent with a kiss instead. The last antic of the fight is Saenchai punishing another spin kick attempt with a catch and sweep followed by a cheeky smile. Saenchai vs Arthur Sorso.
โอ้โหเกือบเข้าผิดจังหวะครับแสนชัยครับ
ไปฟังโอ้โห
โดนแสนชัยเตะมาแล้วคือไม่รู้จะงัดอาวุธออกไรสู้ครับ
แต่ด้วยแสนชัยเนี่ย
Again, Saenchai starts the fight with a shuffle and a smile. The GOAT then mocks the opponent with a parry and then backhands the opponent's head. Saenchai then lands a beautiful trip, sending the opponent flying. With the opponent on the floor, Saenchai locks eyes and smiles. Saenchai switches into aggressive mode, landing his cross-chain knee and elbow, then smiles to the crowd. Now the opponent turns on his aggressive mode, but the GOAT dodges everything and then sweeps the opponent.
เกือบเข้าผิดจังหวะครับแสนชัยครับแม่ครับ
ดูหัวไหล่นี่กลมบ้องเลยโอ้แม่โอ้อยากจะโชว์บ้าง
Later on, Saenchai starts pressuring and the opponent backs off, so Saenchai starts throwing his punches into the air and has a laugh about it. The last antic was when Saenchai throws a cartwheel kick, which missed, but he is still happy and walks away laughing. Saenchai vs Johnathan Fabian. Saenchai catches Fabian's kick, but instead of countering, he shows mercy and stalks the opponent as he fell. Later on, Saenchai enters the clinch, feints a downward elbow, and looks out to the crowd and laughs. To end the round, he dominates the bigger fighter into the corner and unleashes a huge combination. Once again, Saenchai dominates the opponent to the corner, ending in the clinch, and goes to throw another downward elbow. The GOAT then shows mercy and kisses the opponent. The last antic was after Saenchai lands a huge elbow. He ducks under the opponent's hook, takes and secures the back, and then smiles. Saenchai vs Esmail Ganji.
If he wins, what's that? If he wins, nearly as much as he used to.
Saenchai scares the opponent, causing the opponent to cower. Then Saenchai shows mercy, feints a slap, but decides to let the opponent recover. He then shuffles and cartwheel kicks. Saenchai ends up in the clinch, sweeps the opponent into the ropes, and stands above him looking like a boss. The GOAT then teeps the opponent back into the ropes when he gets back up. After landing a big elbow that puts the opponent against the ropes, Saenchai decides to start taunting. Later on, Saenchai again takes the opponent's back and feints the downward slap. Then he squats down while feinting a jab. When Saenchai backs the opponent to the corner, he could have easily destroyed Ganji, but instead, the GOAT just feints and walks away with a smile on his face. Continuing with the feints, Saenchai catches the opponent's kick, walks him back into the corner, and feints the cartwheel kick. The opponent is frightened and jumps, but Saenchai just stares and laughs. Then Saenchai puts his opponent up against the ropes, throws a body cross, and draws a check response. Saenchai then sweeps at the base leg, sending the opponent into the ropes, with Saenchai right behind him with a huge smile on his face. The GOAT even offers his poor opponent a hand up.
If he wins, if he wins, what's up? If he wins, oh yeah, of course.
While in the clinch, the opponent whispers something to Saenchai. Saenchai looks at his opponent like what the f***. He then walks his opponent down with a smile on his face, shuffles for a few seconds, and then sends his opponent flying into the air with a beautiful sweep.
She used to, but it doesn't stop him.
Saenchai vs Isaac Santos. A classic start to the fight as Saenchai opens up with a shuffle. Like many fights, Saenchai lands multiple sweeps within the first round. This one, he lands 2 in the first minute. As the opponent's on the floor, he goes ooh-wee and looks at the camera. You can tell Saenchai is in a good mood and full of smiles in this fight. He lands a face teep and smiles about it. But his mood is immediately ruined as the opponent attempts a jab. In some of Saenchai's fights, he will literally taunt throughout the whole fight. This is one of them. Instead of blocking, like anyone else would, Saenchai goes full Neo from the Matrix. He dodges a roundhouse and then completely mocks the opponent by looking mean and pretending to look for the kick. After catching a kick, Saenchai lands a counter cross down the middle which sends the opponent backwards. Saenchai stalks the opponent on the back foot with a huge smile. After a teep to the face, the opponent is visibly scared and shelling in panic. Saenchai then mocks with throwing his arms in the air, provoking a roundhouse response. To which Saenchai leans back like a boss and feints a slap to the opponent's butt. In this epic sequence, Saenchai brings out his level changing slappy jabs. He then transitions to fake a roundhouse, into teep and then cartwheel kick. Landing this made him walk off with a massive smile. Saenchai vs Houcine Bennoui. As soon as they touch gloves, the opponent lands a big low kick. This made Saenchai angry and decided to take him to school immediately. Saenchai landed everything at will and also sent his opponent flying. When Saenchai tries his cartwheel kick, the opponent decides to charge Saenchai and try landing a dirty kick. Saenchai catches the kick and off-balances the opponent as he falls into the ring. Now Saenchai is in full boss mode and walks away smiling while playing to the crowd. With his opponent nearly on the canvas, Saenchai decides to immediately put him down properly. This was achieved by a teep to the floor with a smirk. With both fighters trying the famed scissor kick technique, the opponent then attempts some no-handed cartwheel kicks. But as Saenchai easily defended the shot, the opponent falls to the ground while the GOAT asks, "What are you doing?" Then Saenchai trips the bigger opponent with absolute slickness. For some reason, while on the floor, the opponent tries to take Saenchai down. Saenchai again is like, "Bro, what the f***?" With the opponent bursting combinations, Saenchai is in full evasive mode and taunting with his head. He walks towards the opponent with a smile, showing that he is untouchable and fearless. Later on, Saenchai laughs at a flying knee attempt. Then, once again, Saenchai goes for a cartwheel kick. And again the opponent tries to be a little dirty and charge Saenchai. Luckily, the referee is a Saenchai fan and completely manhandles the opponent to let Saenchai do some crowd work. The bigger opponent then sweeps Saenchai and tries the head kick on the way up. Again, at the start of the round, Saenchai goes to touch gloves and the opponent low kicks. So Saenchai decides to floor the bigger fighter with a teep. This is Sparta! And then raises his hands. And then does it again. And then a clinch throw for good measure. And then another clinch throw. As Saenchai is swept again, the opponent charges over to him. So when they clinch up, Saenchai picks the opponent up and throws him. He then teeps to off-balance him again. The cocky bigger opponent then moans at Saenchai as his mouthguard flies out and Saenchai throws a low kick. Saenchai is humble and apologizes, but the opponent remains cocky. For all of his cockiness, Saenchai decides to humble him with a walkaway teep and then lots of clinch dumps. In the final round, his opponent again attempts a strange jumping kick, but Saenchai teeps him in midair to floor the opponent and walks off like a G. With a smile on his face, Saenchai goes to touch gloves, but the cocky opponent attempts a flying knee. Near the end of the fight, Saenchai unloads a big combination and trips his opponent into the ropes and stands there looking dominant. Obviously, Saenchai won the fight, but for some reason, when they were taking photos, a guy held up both fighters' hands. So Saenchai's corner said, "Take that hand down." Saenchai vs Chad Collins. Saenchai said that this fight was his hardest fight against the foreigner. Saenchai again starts the fight with a shuffle, which is then disrupted, but the legend laughs it off. He then catches Chad's kick and feints a cartwheel kick. Saenchai parries and cuts a clean angle, and does not attack when he clearly could. Collins is clearly nervous, and tries to find an opening just circling around Saenchai. Saenchai raises his leg for a few seconds, wiggles it, and then smiles. He then does this again for a few seconds later, and then again for a third time. On a counter attempt, Saenchai takes an elbow, but he was not phased, so he calls Chad forward with a few taps on his chin, which invited a charge. Then he hits a low kick sweep and walks off like a gangster, and the crowd goes wild. Saenchai then floors the opponent again, and the crowd goes wild again. Saenchai then sweeps the opponent and stands above him like a boss. Even with the opponent charging forward throwing heavy shots, Saenchai will still forgive and kiss. His opponent actually lands a very nice clinch sweep, to which Saenchai stands up, looks at his opponent and says, "Is that all you got?" At the start of the next round, Saenchai nullifies the aggressive shots, clinches up, and feints a downward elbow. He then looks out to the crowd and laughs. At the end of the fight, Saenchai again slips and parries on the opponent's entry, only to misdirect the opponent and feint a slap. Saenchai vs Firdavs Boynazarov. Firdavs is actually the younger brother of Anvar, the fighter we saw earlier. Within the first minute, the opponent lands a thudding low kick. Saenchai looked annoyed, rolls up his shorts, and then sends his opponent flying into the air. The GOAT then looks to the audience and has a laugh. After another sweep attempt, the opponent lands another low kick. This seemed to wake Saenchai up, and he slapped his own leg and then went on a power combination spree. He then rolls up his shorts and then schools his opponent with a slick angle change followed by some slaps. Now wise to the low kick. On the next attempt, Saenchai pulls his leg back, continues to slap his leg, rolls up his shorts, and then lands a huge kick. The opponent stomps on Saenchai's foot, and Saenchai then points to his foot like, "Hey bro, look out." As Saenchai off-balances the opponent, he chases him down waving his arms, shows mercy, and backs off. Later, Saenchai catches the low kick attempt, but before he's able to counter, the opponent falls, so Saenchai offers him a hand up. Although he didn't take the hand up, the opponent still bows and says thanks. In a cool moment, after an evasion and lean forward taunt, Saenchai rolls up his shorts and dives into a huge power combination. This puts his opponents flying into the ropes, and Saenchai apologizes with kisses. Saenchai even proves his iron nuts here, as he takes a direct hit to the nuts, with the opponent reacting before Saenchai even flinched. With such heavy shots landing earlier, even small advances sends the opponent running back. To mock this, Saenchai starts throwing his hands into the air. Similar to his recent combination that ended with a kiss, Saenchai again crosses to the body with a chain knee, and again followed with a kiss. This time on Saenchai's shuffle, without being interrupted, he ends the shuffle with a roundhouse to the body. That prompts a counter roundhouse. Saenchai catches, swings to the side, throwing the opponent back, setting up a jumping kick into the ropes. But somehow Saenchai missed and ends up flying into the ropes. Upset that he missed, he slaps the ropes. Usually, Saenchai waits until he is in a safe enough position before he chooses to kiss his opponents. After all, the kiss is a risky move, but sometimes Saenchai cannot fight the urge and kisses the opponent as soon as they get close. After his kiss, Saenchai shows just how comfortable he is, as he lands a huge overhand elbow. Then he transitions into a spin elbow and jumping face teep. Even though he was thrown to the floor with a teep, he got up smiling. Saenchai vs Christian Pastore. If Saenchai doesn't start the fight with a shuffle, he'll be sure to use his boom boom evasion. After landing a clean face teep, with the opponent fighting back well after, Saenchai smiles and dances a little, knowing he's gonna have fun in this fight. And that's when he sends his opponent flying into the air with an incredible sweep. They touch gloves, and immediately Saenchai lands a flush head kick that stumbles the opponent. He follows up with a few more strikes, eventually landing a hook that again sends his opponent onto wobbly legs. Again putting on the pressure, Saenchai unloads a variety of clean attacks. It's important to note that Saenchai could easily finish his opponent here early in round 1, but chooses to walk off instead. So with dominance established, Saenchai shuffles his hands, leans and smiles while putting himself against the ropes. He did this almost as if he was trying to give his poor opponent a chance. With the opponent doing nothing after such a kind gesture, Saenchai sweeps him again. The same thing basically happens again moments later, and it's clear by this point that Saenchai is absolutely toying with his prey. To end the round, Saenchai feints, leans and offers a glove touch. After defending a flurry from the opponent, Saenchai comes forward with his own attacks. He landed roundhouses and knees, and then mocked the opponent's attempt of a flurry of his own by throwing his hands in all directions. Saenchai then lands a big right elbow, landing on the opponent's cheek. Feeling bad, Saenchai kisses him on the exact same spot, and the opponent is happy about this. He laughs, with Saenchai raising his eyebrows like, "You want more?" On a low kick attempt, Saenchai was able to catch the kick and pass the leg across. Before Saenchai was able to finish the move, the opponent already fell. Displeased, Saenchai mocks him by raising his hand, feinting a slap. Again showing mercy, Saenchai lands a high kick, forcing the opponent to cover in a shell, only for Saenchai to throw his hands back in the air. He then taunts the opponent some more. To end the round, Saenchai goes in on the opponent, landing whatever he wants. Eventually, they end up in the clinch as the round ends, and Saenchai kisses the opponent before they walk back to their corners, as if to say, "Good job for staying alive." In the third round, Saenchai doesn't seem to want to finish the opponent. He plays and dances around the opponent while landing a few shots. But he did make sure to land a cartwheel kick and walk off with a huge smile on his face. So there you have it. This is how Saenchai does his legendary knockout antics. Were you impressed by his performance and showmanship? I know I was. Let us know your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support us is to watch another one. I'm Lawrence Kenshin, and thank you for keeping our channel alive.